Hey everybody, Anthony here, and the footage you are about to watch is unfortunately the only non-finals top cut match I was able to document for Encounter 2. Just a lot of scheduling stuff did not work out in my favor, so this was the only one I was able to get. But you at least get one, and you will be getting the finals. Now, I have this running at 200% speed like I did for one of the other features this event, just so that way it's easier on me, and plus I have a cold right now, so I do kind of want to get this done as soon as I can. So I will be going first this game, ASP versus Ozzy and his TreadFire deck, which this deck has given me some inspiration for some potential loser shenanigans, courtesy of John, but I will talk about that at a later time. Anyway, Scorpiolator is going to start here, and I am sorry for the camera shake, but I promise one day I will figure this out. Anyway, Scorpiolator into, I believe I go after Jetfire here, because game one, my game plan was just try and murder Jetfire as quickly as humanly possible, because this deck can easily out-aggro Treadbolt, or rather outspeed him. Either way, this deck can kill faster than Treadbolt can get a card under him, so that is my main game plan here. Just get Jetfire off the board. Treadbolt's not a half-bad attacker, but he definitely needs cards underneath him to really do anything, like, substantial, so if he's the only character on the board, Ozzy's not in too good of a position. I then go ahead and activate Scorpiolator's ability, calling ranged here in order to get a bit of extra damage on a Jetfire. Again, I was leading into that game plan heavily. And we're going to go ahead and move over to Ozzy's turn. Flipping Jetfire. And I believe we see a shoulder holster come down here. Yes, that was the case. And a Javelin gets supposedly played on a Treadbolt here, but that is not how Sturdy Javelin shoulder holster works. You have to play it on the character that the holster was on. And also playing utility while Ghyrik is on the field. That's always an interesting sight. Jetfire will throw the Javelin at Ghryik. He is right to fear it in this match just because of the utility thing. And that is a dead Scorpiolator. Scorpiolator actually dies on the first hit for the first time, like, ever, I think. I've, again, played Scorpiolator in both E1 and E2, and I think this is, like, either the first or second time he's actually died when he got looked at the wrong way. Arachnoid Array goes on to Night Flight, and the Scope goes on to Ghryik. There, he is now my big power swinger. I just realized that sounds weird out of context, but whatever. Anyways, Pocket Processor comes down on to Ghryik, and when Ghryik gets to attack here in 2 turns, I will get a extra Bold 1, Pierce 1 for the shoulder holster. I do have an Espionage. I call Orange, it looks like. Yeah, it was a call of Orange. I really didn't have any better actions in hand at the time, so I figured, you know, let's just try to get a card out of Ozzy's hand, keep things a little bit under check. He, excuse me, stacks a handheld blaster, and Jetfire ends up taking 5 damage here from this swing from Night Flight. Still pretty good. I'm just saying this now, ASP is the deck to look at it going forward just because of the fact that Shanix Laundering is such a freakishly good card for the deck. It is insane. And you'll notice me popping in on camera there. I just had to grab this post-it note. Ghryik is not a Constructicon. I talked about this in the round 4 feature, but I basically forgot that the extra weapon in a slot part of the Peculiar Scope is actually restricted to Constructicons in round 1. So I've had this post-it note for the entirety of the event as a shameful reminder for myself that that is the case. Anyways, Noble's Blaster on Treadbolt, and we are going into Night Flight here, and defending for 2 against 7. Unfortunately, that is a... Wait a minute. Oh, I had +1 defense from the freaking... What's it called? The Arachnid Array. So that's 7, blocking 3, take 4. Yeah, that's alive. When's the last time you saw an ASP member defend for something? Anyways, we're going to move over to my turn here. Ghryik has a good swing here, and it's getting even better with this aspect of Rage that will move a damage to Jetfire and then do a damage to Treadbolt, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of how this played out. Admittedly, this was about a week ago when this match played out, so my memory's a little foggy on this. Yep, move 1 to Treadbolt, do 1 to Jetfire, or move 1 to Jetfire, do 1 to Treadbolt, however order you want to look at it. And we're going to play double Focus Fire onto Ghryik. No, I think we played it onto Tailwind here, and then send Ghryik into Jetfire. And that decision paid off significantly after Ozzy does some stacking here. Going in for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 into Jetfire. And he is on 19, which is exact lethal with Ghyrik on the field. Ghyrik, ladies and gentlemen, Ghyrik. And now Tailwind going in with the bold 3 off the focus fire. And that is for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 10, I believe. 10 blocking 3, or 10 blocking 3 take, or 10 blocking 2, I think it was, take. Either way, Treadbolt's at 2 health remaining. So at this point, I don't remember what happens. I genuinely do not remember what happens. And that's a scoop from Ozzy, and we are going to go ahead and go into the sideboarding process for Game 2. So we've talked about before throughout this entire event how this is an oddball format, and while we're on that subject, let's talk about a fan favorite oddball format. 2 losers. With all the competitive action going on, we do need to have casual tournaments to allow as many players as possible to get in on the action, and Losers has filled that role fantastically, and it will be returning now that Encounter 2 has concluded. For those not familiar, Losers is a 2-deck format that requires you to run historically underplayed stratagems and sometimes underplayed characters, and allows you to swap decks between games. However, this next Losers event that's going to be coming up here soon has a twist. The Dead Loser Switch rule is in effect, meaning the loser of each game can force their opponent to switch decks. So there's going to be all sorts of nonsense getting thrown out, and it should be a overall good time. Of course, we'll be having coverage of this over on the Twitch channel, which I will link to in the description, and here on the live channel, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And as for the next competitive encounter, well, encounters are all competitive. As for the next competitive event, I should say, we'll talk about that in a bit. For now, we're going to fast forward through the remainder of the sideboarding process. You'll notice that I have brought in Crasher and Ozzy has brought in Jetfire. This is about what I expected for Game 2. And I'm going to be honest with you, Game 2 went exactly how I expected to, but it almost went a completely different way. So let's finish up with the sideboarding by fast forwarding through it. And we are back with Game 2. Now, the last time I was in a top cut scenario, kind of, against Ozzy, where I was up 1-0, I ended up losing 3 straight because that was the OI Losers Finals. Now, we'll see if I can break this, or not break the curse, I should say. Well, I'm not even sure it's a curse, but basically prevent history from repeating itself. That's what I should say. Anyways, Jetfire is going to just go all out, sending Thrust in for a butt-ton of damage, and Ghryik takes 10. About what I expected to start off this match, if I'm being perfectly honest. I was talking with John like an hour before this match started, and I basically said, Game 1, I'm probably going to win because I can out-aggro Treadbolt. Game 2, he's just going to open up by trying to kill Ghryik, which he did succeed almost in. We're going to start by flipping Crasher this turn. I figured bringing in Crasher to this game just to have a bit more of a power attacker to try and get one of these characters off the board was going to be the play, and we'll see if that ends up happening. We'll send in Night Flight here for 4 Pierce 2. Thrust will only take 2 damage, but it's at least a start, and with the Alive on 1 curse floating around, even with Ghryik, you take every point you can get. And then we're going to send Tailwind into Thrust, we'll take 2 damage. And then we're going to send Crasher in for 5. Blocks 4, takes 1, up to 5, but at the very least I'll get a free point of damage on Jetfire thanks to Crasher's ability. And Ghryik here, going in for 7, blocking 5, takes 2. We don't have a dead Thrust this turn, but at the very least we've put ourselves in a situation where Ozzy is going to have to make a serious consideration as to whether it's worth it to tap Thrust for his ability or not, or if he wants to start using him as a meat shield. And you'll notice, I just noticed actually, that it says Treadbolt on the screen, and it actually just changed over to Thrust. I will have to fix that in a moment, but this is the advantage of editing after the fact. I can just fix that by doing some weird video editing magic. Anyways, Jetfire will flip to alt mode, and 5 upgrades! I'm just gonna say this now. Ozzy was, like, insane. I thought insanely lucky throughout this entire event in terms of drawing upgrades off of Jetfire, but then you look at his deck composition, and I believe it was like a 15-26 action upgrade split. Kinetic Converter on Jetfire to draw some extra cards, and also that was an escape route that allowed him to flip to alt mode. And flip back to bot mode. He's just going to send him in here into Ghryik, I believe was the call. And in the least shocking twist of fate ever, Ghryik is dead from that. 6-2, exact lethal. We're going to draw for turn. We need to kill somebody this turn. Unfortunately, we don't have a wheel turn, so that's going to be difficult. Again, I forgot how this match played out, kind of, aside from the outcome. Anyways, we're going to play a Erratic Lightning onto Night Flight and just try and do some stuff to Jetfire. Handheld gets thrown on top of the deck, and the glare is awful here. Jetfire takes 7 damage? No, 6 damage. I keep forgetting Ozzy does caps out at 5 when he does the dice instead of 6. Escape route to get more cards and 2 actions. That balances things out. Yeah, looking at Ozzy's deck list, it's a 14 action 26 upgrade deck, which makes sense for Jetfire. We're gonna get the cut here. And only 2 upgrades, which balances out from that last one, but still, he's got a massive hand now. Flipping Jetfire, drawing another card off the Kinetic Converter. I bring in Rog for good luck. I bought a Rog the other day, and if you're wondering who the hell Rog is, that is our official name for Red Cog, and if you disagree with me, you can kindly get lost. I'm just kidding, but yeah, his name is Rog. Anyways. We see a Mining Pick come down onto Thrust. Ozzy's got the hand to sustain this. He'll stack a Improvised Shield on top. Don't know why he showed that, but oh, there was 2 Improvised Shields. Either way, Night Flight is probably dying here, and very much he does, especially with the Erratic Lightning being around. Now, Thrust is vulnerable, and I'm thinking here, okay, we can probably kill Thrust this turn, force a situation where I might be able to kill Jetfire on a wheel turn, or put some damage on Jetfire on a wheel turn. And we're going to Espionage, and I do not remember what I ended up calling here. I think I ended up calling green? Oh, I ended up calling blue, so there's a ton of options in hand. I get rid of the Scoundrels just because in the event Thrust survived, I did not want him getting a guaranteed +2 to Thrust innate +3. So now I am just considering how I want to attack. We're going to send Tailwind into Thrust. And the attack is for 4, 5, 6, 8. Blocking 3. Thrust is dead, thankfully. But now Crasher is going to have to pick up the workload a little bit to try and deal with Jetfire. And this time I actually remember Jetfire's ability. We're going in for 6. That's decent. Unfortunately, we cannot trigger Crasher's bot mode anymore because of the fact that it specifically targets other characters. So, unfortunate, but what are you going to do about it? Anyways, moving over to Ozzy's turn. He's got pretty much every weapon he could possibly want here. This is the one advantage of playing Jetfire. And I know Tank is thoroughly enjoying this, probably. So we're going to go ahead and see an escape route get dropped, and more upgrades, and getting a Javelin, a Nobles, and a multi-missile pod. Keep that that last card in mind, I should say. Anyways, Jetfire will go ahead and swing into, I believe, Tailwind was the hit here. Oh, there's a Soldiers on the field as well, so +3 against whoever he ends up attacking, and I believe it was Crasher. So now Tailwind has to do 8 damage this turn? No, 12. What am I saying? Jetfire has 8 damage. I have Masher Base fight for position, though, so that's at least something. And we attack for a decent amount. The block is for 4. Goes up to 15, unfortunately, and Ozzy is guaranteed to have me on the crackback here, and we will watch this play out. I will say, had I managed to kill Thrust on the wheel turn, on that first turn, which was a legit possibility, like, this game could be going very differently right now. So, if anybody says wheel turns really don't matter, that's a lie. I don't know who says that. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head to stall for time while a deck reshuffling was happening. God, I cannot speak tonight all of a sudden. Anyways, 10 attack, that's a dead Tailwind. Game 2 goes to Ozzy. And while the sideboarding process is happening there, let's talk about the next competitive event, Encounter 3. Now, with this encounter running on even-numbered waves only, players haven't yet had a chance to react to the developments from Encounter 1, and Encounter 3 will finally allow players to do so with all legal waves available once again. Will Steven continue his winning ways after his breakout performance in Encounter 1? Will Ozzy bring Soundwave again? And can he, if he does so, I can speak, can he finally win an encounter? Can Naga and Vangelis redeem themselves after crushing defeats in top 4? Will Devastator and Metroplex return to terrorize the format once more? Will I finally win a top 8 match for once? We'll find out when Encounter 3 begins a couple of weeks after the conclusion of the upcoming 2 Losers event. You can watch all the action over on the Twitch page, or replays here on the live channel, or you can join the Discord, which I have a link to in the description, to know when the registration link goes live so you can make your mark on the history of the TFTCG. And as you can see, I have sided back into Scorpulator for this game. My logic is having a guaranteed blocker and making Ghryik a bit more of a threat on the crackback is probably a bit more beneficial than having an extra bit of attack points. So I figured, you know what, let's go with this. We call ranged again just to get more damage on the board because every point matters. So we're going to go ahead and go over to Ozzy's turn. Jetfire did take a damage from that Scorpulator attack, otherwise the ability wouldn't have resolved. Parma Shield comes down onto Thrust, I almost called him Jetfire. And Thrust will go into Scorpulator here, attacking for 5, I believe. I blocked 3, or blocked 2. Alive on 1, and I am kicking myself at this exact moment because I should have called Specialist because then Scorpulator would be dead. Either way, we go over to my turn, and an Espionage gets dropped, and I believe I hit the... Yeah, I hit the escape route. I believe I called green there. We'll throw a Javelin onto Nightflight, who flipped last turn, and then... Nightflight in, throwing the Javelin at Thrust. We're just trying to get him off the board right now. And Thrust blocks enough to only have to take 3, I just realized. Or actually only takes 1 in that case, because he had 1 and then he took 2 from the Javelin and 1. Yeah, he only took 1 there. So we're going to go over to Ozzy's turn. Soldier's Blaster comes back to roost. This card continues to get more powerful as because more factions are in the game, because now Quintessence Junkions are floating around. Jetfire goes in, just nukes Nightflight. And we will go ahead and go over to my turn. We have Tailwind and Ghryik. Both are in a decent position. We'll flip Tailwind for the +1. Always a beneficial thing. And a Bracing Up and a Power Punch come down onto Ghryik. And we need to get Thrust off the board this turn. That will hamper Ozzy's ability to do stuff significantly. So going in for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe is a swing. And alive on 1. With Ghryik, mind you, and I am irritated beyond belief at this point. I am just going to say this now. This moment is going to have a significant impact on the outcome of this game. We then send in Tailwind for, I believe, 7 was the hit, and Thrust is gone. But that missing lethal by 1 with Ghryik there, I'm just going to flat out say it, does play a role in how this game plays out. So we're going to go ahead and move over to Ozzy's turn now. And he will escape route Jetfire for an improvised shield, shoulder holster, Scoundrels, which is a dead card, and a mining pick. 3 good upgrades there, and I never thought I'd say that with improvised shield, but with Jetfire, that's a plus... English, how does it work? It's normally a +2, but it can be up to a +3, so it's pretty good. Anyways, now that I am done tripping over myself, Ozzy is considering what the upgrade is going to be, and it's going to be a Bashing Shield for no value, and Jetfire will go in here. I believe the target is Ghryik. Putting a improvised on top of the deck, there was a bit of stuttering here at this point, but all plays out well, and Tailwind is dead. So now we're going to go ahead and draw for turn. Unfortunately, Scorpiolator being alive is a massive problem. We're going to bash off the Bashing Shield, fight for position with Ghryik. So we'll send in Scorpiolator first. And does the attack do damage? Okay, the attack does damage. And I am noticing a misplay here on my part. I maybe should have called Specialist to kill Scorpiolator and give Ghryik an additional +2 attack. Okay, now I'm curious how that would have impacted things. Hold on a second. Anyways, Jetfire takes a bit of damage there. And a decent swing coming in from Ghryik here, going in for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe the swing is. 10, blocking 6, taking 4. Now, with the scope, that would have been taking 6, so he would have been up to 12. And we're going to move over to Ozzy's turn now. So the soldiers are still there. Escape route again. And getting handheld kinetic converter, improvised shield, and one other card I do not remember. I think it was an armor axe. It was an armor axe or a Parma shield, one of the two. I think it was an axe because I thought I saw a blue icon. Jetfire will flip back to bot mode. And let's see what the play is here. At this point, he's doing some math in terms of attack bonuses, so one would suspect a mining pick might be coming down. And there's a Parma shield instead, so it was a Parma shield. Jetfire will go into Ghryik, it looks like. I will scrap the bracing up here in a desperation defensive move. And the attack is for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 blocking 4. Go up to 11. And we'll draw for turn. And we'll replace the Bashing Shield with an Aspect of Rage to do 2 damage. So Jetfire would be at 14. Focus Fire on Ghryik. And a decent swing from Scorpiolator here from what we saw right before Ozzy said Jetfire effect. I kept forgetting that was a thing. And Jetfire blocks it, actually. And looks at taking that escape route, dropping a smelt for it. Seems reasonable at this point in the game. And Ghryik going in with Bold 1 and Pierce 1, stacking a handheld on Ozzy's side of the field. We got a reshuffle here. Actually, correction from earlier, Jetfire would be at 13 right now because the 1 damage being dealt would not have actually resolved. And 15 plus 1 is 16. That's where Jetfire is at right now. Now that I'm looking at this, I do not think it would have had an impact on the outcome of this game. And based on the fact that I'm talking about it, you can kind of tell where this is going, especially with a fully loaded Jetfire, a heavily damaged Ghryik, and a Scorpiolator that has not been able to do a whole lot. And now we wait for a play from Ozzy. Flipping Jetfire. There's an improvised shield. That's always something you want to see. Whole bunch of scraps, though, but whatever. Waiting for the reshuffle. And now you understand why I played this back at 200% speed, just so that way we can fast forward through stuff like this. Because live is a bit easier to spitball commentary because you don't know what's going to happen, but after the fact it's a little harder to do that just because, again, you know what's going to happen. And then the flip back to bot mode here in a moment. There it is. Jetfire in. Putting the improvised on top. And multi-missile pod to get rid of Scorpulator. Now the pieces come on to Ghyrik. And it would unfortunately, the misplay with Scorpulator earlier would not matter. As at the end of the day, Ghyrik goes down. Ozzy takes this top 8 match 2-1 over Ghyrik ASP. And once again, I have a 1-game lead over Ozzy in a top cut scenario, or an elimination scenario, I should say. And I win the first game, lose the next bunch to lose the set. But this was a fun match regardless. And again, leaving Thrust Alive on 1 changed the outcome of this match, especially in Game 3. Game 2 somewhat, but Game 3 definitely. With that being said, that will do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed what you saw here today. If you did, there's a little red button you can push down below to show that. And if you want to see these live, there's a little purple button you can push at the Twitch link in the description. And we will be back. I was about to say for the finals, but we will be back for 2 losers coverage here in a little bit. But for now, that will do it for this video. Peace out, y'all.